Hi Math Stars. So we are working on rounding and estimating. There are 4 pages in our booklet that deal with rounding and estimating. Pages 25 and 38 deal with rounding, and pages 30 and 39 deal with estimating. I will do a couple problems from each page, and then I'll show you the answer for the answers for the whole page. The one thing to keep in mind, number one, is the difference between rounding and estimating. Okay, rounding, okay, is when you are given the place to round to. Estimating is when you round to the largest place value in the number. Okay, that's the only difference. In rounding, they will give you a specific direction as to what place to look at, and in estimating, they'll just say estimate. So whatever the largest place value is in that particular number, that's what you're going to estimate to. Okay, keep in mind, there is a bonus place value video that I did make. If you have not watched that place value video, then make sure you go back and you watch it before moving on with this video. Okay, remember your place values, you have to know the name of each place. Tenths, hundredths, thousandths, that's to the right of a decimal. To the left of the decimal, ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, and million, and so on. Okay, that chart, that place value chart, is linked in the description of the place value video. Okay, so to get a nice video, a nice visual about rounding, okay, there is kind of a poem that we say, 5 or more, add 1 more. 4 or less, leave alone. Okay, so 5 or more, and that's our red line. That's our dividing line. Everything to the right of our dividing line, just like that arrow, tells you that we need to round up to the next number. Anything to the left, we round down. Okay, and some of you might think, well, what is the purpose of rounding to begin with? Well, in rounding, you're either going to gain a couple to get to a nice whole number, or you're going to lose a couple to get to a nice round number. Sometimes with certain math operations, it's easier to deal with fuller whole numbers, or sometimes you don't need to know an exact amount of something. So that is when you round or you estimate. And a big key word for rounding or estimating is focusing on about. Oops, B-O-U-T. Okay, that's a big key word for rounding and estimating. Okay, so for example, if we look at 48, I have 48. It's 5 or more. Say I want to, well, you have to know what you're rounding to. Say you want to round to the nearest 10. Okay, so we're going to look at the tens place. When you round to the tens place, you look next door, one place to the right. That is the digit that's going to tell you either 5 or more and I go up, or 4 or less and I go down. That's an 8, so that's 5 or more. I'm going to go up to my next whole 10, and my next whole 10 out of after 40 is a 50. That means I'm going to gain 2 to get to a whole number. And that makes much sense, because am I closer to 50 or am I closer to 40? I'm right here. I'm closer to 50. If I was to round down, I'd be losing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 numbers. But to move up, I just have to gain 2. And that's just kind of the basic idea of rounding. Okay, so let's look at our first page. Let's go to page 38. Okay, I'll zoom in a little bit. It says round, so you have to look at the definition or the directions on each section. It says round to the nearest tens place. This one says round to the nearest hundreds place. So in every one of these numbers, underline the tens place. Just go ahead and do that now. It's just a good reminder of what place you're rounding to. Anything that comes before the tens place, you're going to keep the same. It's what comes after that changes. Okay? Keep in mind, 5 or more, add 1 more. 4 or less, leave alone. Okay, so I'm rounding to the nearest tens place. That means I have to look one place value to the right. I have to look at that 3. That 3 is going to tell me, am I going to move up to 60 or am I going to stay at 50? If I move up to 60, I have to gain 7. If I stay at 50, I'm going to lose 3. So this 3 tells me 4 or less, leave alone. I'm going to stay at 50. So it's 450. Okay. So now I'm going to look at 70. So I'm either going to, let me erase my think track over here. I'm either going to stay at 70, or what's my next 10 up? If I have to add 1 more, I'm going to go to 80. I look next door at the ones place. The 8 is going to tell me, is it 5 or more and I go up to 80? Or is an 8 4 or less and I leave alone and stay at 70? It's 5 or more. So 78 is rounded to 80. Also keep reminding myself, I'm gaining 2 to go to 80, but I have to lose 8 to go to 70. It's like whichever one is the smaller number, that's also the direction you want to go. So 349, I'm going to look next door. I'm either going to stay at 40 or I'm going to go up to 50. Okay, so this 9 tells me I'm going to go up to 50. So I'm going to keep the 300 the same and I stay up to 50. I've gained 1 to go to 50. I would have to lose 9 to go to 40, and that's not happening. So 5 or more, add 1 more. 4 or less, you leave alone. So I am going to show you the answer key. Oh, no, first I do want to go over question, this one over here, 399. 399 is tricky. 999 is tricky. And 1,999 are tricky. Okay, so with this, we have 3 place values, right? I'm going to write it on the side here. We have 399. Right? Here's my ones place value, my tens, and my hundreds place value. Okay. In my class, I like to call these porta potties, right? How many people comfortably fit in a porta potty? 1. So each place value is like a porta potty, only 1 digit can stay in there. But when I want to round 399, okay, I look my tens place, I look next door, and that's a 9. The 9 tells me I should add 1 more, right? So I'm either going to stay at 90, or I'm going to go up to 100. Okay, so my 300 is going to stay the same, but the 9 tells me I need to add 1 more. So here's my 10, and there we go. But now, how many digits are in the tens place? 2 digits are in the tens place. Well, that's kind of breaking our porta potty rule. You can only put 1 digit per place value. That means that this group of 10, remember, we move in groups of 10 on our base 10. We have a base 10 math system, and we move in groups of 10 from one place value to the next. So this group of 10 has to be added to the hundreds place, because 10 tens equal 1 100. I have 10 tens, so now I have to make this a 400. So 399 actually gets rounded to 400. I know for some reason that's just like a weird concept to grasp. Let's go down to 99. Anytime you can make think tracks, if you need to separate your numbers to give you that visual, go ahead and do that. This is your learning. You can do what it takes to make sure you get the job done. So we're rounding to the hundreds place. right? So I underline the hundreds place, and that means I look, oh, yeah, so that means I look next door, right? This 9 tells me I need to go up one more. Well, what's one more than 9? 10, right? Well, here's our porta potty rule. Can I have a 10 in the hundreds place? No, you can't. So you have to take this group of 10 and you have to move it over to the next place value. And we have to write that in as actually, what's our next place value? The thousands. So we're going to put a 1 in the thousands place. We've gotten rid of that group of 10, so now there's nothing left in there. So 999 actually gets rounded to 1,000. So I paused the video. Try this bottom right question by yourself, 1,999. And then when you try it, unpause the video and check your answer. Okay? So again, this is like our porta potty rule, right? We want to round to the nearest 100, so I underline the hundreds digit. I look next door, and that's going to tell me, am I going to go up or down? Right? So this 9 tells me I have to move this to a 10. But again, it's our porta potty rule. This is the hundreds place. I cannot have a 10. 10 is 2 digits. A 10 is a 1 and a 0. I can't have that 10. That 10 has to be moved over to the thousands place. I already have a 1 in the thousands place, so we just have to up it one more group of 10. So 100 or 1,999. That kind of looked so unclear. Those were like our porta potties. I look next door. This 9 told me I should make this 10. I should go up one more. But I can't do that. A 10 is a 1 digit and a 0 digit. Those 2 digits. So I had to move this group of 10 over one more to the thousands. But there's always a 1. There's already a 1 there. So it's 1,000 plus another 1,000, 2,000. So 1,999 gets rounded to 2,000. Okay, so those are just the only really tricky problems on there. So let me show you the answer key. If you want to finish the page, then finish it. If you are ready, here is the answers. Okay, and this little explanation right here goes for the 3 that I just showed you. Okay, so now let's just for a brief moment look at page 25. That's 38, there's 25. So decimals are no different. The only thing about decimals that you need to know is just the names of the place values. Okay, so this one says round to the nearest whole number. Okay, keep in mind whole number means the ones place. Okay, that's the nearest whole number. So you're going to look and you got to underline the ones place in all of the problems. If you do it ahead of time, then you know you're not going to make a simple error. Again, rounding is not a super difficult skill, but it's one that you can make some simple errors in because you take for granted that it's quote unquote so easy. Okay. Here you want to round to the nearest tenth. So now you know what your tenths place is. If you're not sure what your tenths place is, then break out a place value chart. Okay, our tenths place is the first place value to the right of the decimal. Like I've been saying in many of my videos, stop to make yourself a quick think track. Make a quick place value chart. Tenths, hundredths, thousands, ones, tens, hundreds, thousands. I should make the 10 a capital T. Okay? And then, so underline all the tenths and do that for the rest of the problems. And here we want to round to the nearest hundredth. So underline the hundredths. See, I was going to underline the tens place, but I looked, there's the decimal, and I have to move 2 over. Okay, so do that for all of them. And then the rationale, I'm going to zoom in for a question. The rationale is exactly the same for the page we just did. You want to round to the nearest whole number? Look next door. That 6 is going to tell me either I'm going to go up to 60 or I'm going to stay at 50. So this is going to turn in. The 6 is going to tell me 5 or more, add 1 more. I'm going to go up to 46. And then the rest gets kind of deleted. You don't need it anymore. That's why we're rounding. We're rounding to get rid of the smaller parts. We want a nice whole number. And 46 is much cleaner to work with than 45 and 678 thousandths. Okay, I'll do one more. Let's look next door. This 5 tells me I'm going to go up 1 more. So I'm going to go to 2,346. Now it doesn't look like I've lost much or I've gained much. Our number didn't change dramatically, but we did lose this small part. So sometimes rounding, you're going to miss big, you're going to, have drastic changes and lose big numbers. And sometimes you're just going to lose little amounts, but it's still rounding. We're still getting a nice whole number other than dealing with little parts. Okay, if you'd like to finish the page, stop the video. Okay, and then when you're ready for the answers, you can turn it back on. I'm going to show you the answers right now. Okay. That tricky part with the 9 and having 1 digit in a place value, that comes into play down here. That's what my note's for down there. Okay, so I know that wasn't a long time, but you can pause the video and you can look at it. Okay, so now let's look at page 30 and 39. They're estimating decimals, so it's not a huge difference in either of the pages. But estimating just means we're going to round to the nearest, the largest place value that is there. So all of the largest ones. So like this is the largest one here is in the ones, the largest here is in the tens, this largest number is in the hundreds, this largest number is in the tenths. So it just depends, but just know that estimate means rounding to the largest place value, and they're not going to tell you in the directions. So when you estimate, you're going to write your new number right next to it. Oops, I showed you the answer page. Didn't want to do that. Okay, we'll go to a clean page. It looks less scary. Okay, so my largest number, and you just look next door for both of them. 2 and 34 hundredths. I'm either going to go up to 3 or I'm going to stay at 2. This 3 tells me I'm going to stay at 2, and that's it. Everything else kind of gets erased. Okay, yeah. And then for here, I could either go up to 9 or I can stay at 8. This 9 tells me I'm going to go up to 9. Okay, 9 plus 2 is 11, and that is my answer. Let's go to question 2. My largest place value is the hundreds. So I could either go to 700. I can add 1 more 100 and go to 700, or I can stay at 600. This 4 tells me 4 or less, leave alone. I'm going to leave it alone, and I'm going to stay at 600. Now this number, my largest place value, is in the tens place, but I still look next door. I could either go up to 90, or I can stay, since it's in the tens place, it's a 90, not a 9, or I can stay at 80. 5 or more, add 1 more. This 7 tells me I need to go up. So this is going to be a 90. It's 90. Please do not write it like this. Don't line up the 6 and the 9. Okay, the 9 is a tens place, so it goes in the tens place. Then I add, and this number with lots of smaller digits ends up to 690. Okay? And then on the bottom part of the page, we're going to subtract. So this was all finding the sum. This one is all estimating to find the difference. Know that there is a change there. Okay, and I'm just going to show you one more page, and it's page 39. Oh, wait, let me show you the answers to page 30. Okay, flash that back on there. Please work carefully. It's very easy to make simple mistakes because it's not one of the most difficult skills we have, but just take your time, make your think tracks, remind yourself of that kind of little saying, 5 or more, add 1 more, 4 or less, leave alone. Keep that visual in your head of the rounding chart. Oh, I dropped it. Which is right here. Keep this visual in your head. 5 or more, we're always going to go to the next highest. 4 or less, we're going to stay. Okay. And then our last estimating page is page 39. Where is it? I had it right here. Nope. Nope. All right. Well, I'll just show you the answer page for that. Okay, so for page 39, okay, there's just some reminders on the top. What estimate means to round to the largest place value of the number. On this page, watch the signs because you have some addition, you have some subtraction, addition, and so on. Okay, so they mix it up a little bit. It's the exact same process. They don't give you the nice little arrows where you have to write next to it, but just write next to it. And the exact same process goes through. Like for example, in question 2, my largest place value is a ones place, and the bottom number, the largest place value, is a tenths. Doesn't matter. Estimate is just the largest place value that is there. And that is all about rounding and estimating.